Continuing with our video on the design settings. Okay, we just finished covering the structural reinforcement bar settings. I think probably this is the most the biggest of them all, to be honest. But the next one we're gonna cover is not as big as that one. Okay. So we will look at the structural design setting. Now, this is where you specify the FCU, FY, cover to reinforcement, whether the steel is high yield, and stuff like that. Again, the settings are quite okay, but if you want the FCU to be 20, you can just come and change it. So the software works with whatever FCU you throw in or whatever FY you throw in. So it will just work with it, okay? It's not restricted to a range of FCU or FY. It will just work with whatever you specify, and it will just by the time you finish, go back to design and click automatic design, and the software will just recalculate itself. So you can always change to whatever parameter you want, and this applies to the slab. And then now this is the structural beam design setting for the beams. So here you specify the FCU and the FY for the beams, okay? And of course, I forgot to mention this. This is the type of steel. It can be high yield or mild yield, okay? So whatever you select, the software will work with it. For the beam, as I said, so you have the FCU for the beam, the FY for the beam, and then you have the cover to reinforcement for the beam. Then we have the one for the column design setting for the column. So it's the same thing. You have the FCU, the FY, and then the cover to reinforcement. And we have the same for the structural for the foundation. So you have the FY, the FCU, the FY, and then the cover to reinforcement. Now you can always start with the default settings as they are. Okay. For most designs, it will be within this range. I think what people sometimes can play with is the FCU, especially if you have a poor grade of concrete. You can manage the FCU from here. But apart from that, most of the settings are just okay the way they are. Okay, moving on. We get to the slab detailing setting. Okay, this also control the way the software detail the slab. So again, you don't really need to do much with the setting. But if you want to take more control, then you can now change some of these settings. Okay, so the first thing is the length of the slab detailing. That is the reinforcement bar length for slab detailing. Okay, this length is also different from the length that you will see by the time we go to bar bending schedule. Okay, now this is kind of like help the software to know how to curtail the bar, especially when it needs to join the bar together. You will see that as we move over to the detailing. Okay, so if you here, if this join reinforcement bars where necessary is checked by default, you want the software to join the bars where necessary, then you just have to leave it checked the way they are. I will explain this as we go down because it's better shown with an example. Then group similar reinforcement bars. So what that means that the software will try to group similar bars together. Of course, these two will help in reducing the amount of kind of like bar specifications in the drawing. Okay, it kind of like clears up the drawing and reduce the clusters. Okay, and then the maximum number of reinforcement bar in each group, like by the time it groups it, so this kind of limits the maximum number of bar in the group, so that at least at intervals there could be some reinforcements along the line. Then here you can also have, say, have one bar in each group. Um, then, of course, this will just force the software to show only one reinforcement bar in each group. If this is unchecked, now in each of the group, it could also have the reinforcement can be there, but the specification will be different. We not it will show as a group, but it will then also show the bar. Again, this is depends on the volume of reinforcements you want in the slab. I will show it with an example as we go on. So show bar in a group at these intervals. Okay. Even though the bars in the same group have some bar mark, the above allow you to show bars occasionally within the group. Now, the thing with all these settings is you can, as I said, just leave it as it is, as default. But if you want to play with it, you can just change anything and then see how the software reacts. Okay. And that is what we're going to do now. Okay. Okay, so I'll run the design so you can see what I mean by that. I don't need this for now. So I'll click automatic design. Okay, so if we go to the slab reinforcement, which should be somewhere here. So as you can see, if you look at this bar mark 1, so you can see the bars are grouped. You can see we have bar mark 1, bar mark 1, bar mark 1. So that is the effect of the grouping. You know, if you go back to the setting, so you can see that is the effect of the grouping. Okay, so when you want the software to group similar bars, that is what it will do. It will kind of like if the bars are the same, like this bar, it repeats here, it repeats there. I think it goes all the way to this point. It repeats here, repeats there. You can see still bar mark 1, bar mark 1. So it groups them all, so you have just one bar. And because we said it can have up to 20 in a group, so that it can just go on until it counts the 20th bar, and then it will start another one. So if you don't want it to group, for instance, you can ungroup this. And then if you also look at here, this bar, so if you look at so if you look at this bar, yeah, so you can see it's kind of like all the way joined. Okay, so it works with the limit that we set, that is this join reinforcement bar when necessary. So that is what that does. So if you don't want all this to happen, if you don't want the bars to be joined and all the rest, so all you need to do is you can uncheck this. So if we uncheck all this, yeah, and then I run the design again. In this case, I can just use automatic design direct. If you look at the reinforcement, you can see we have more bigger reinforcement and more bigger specification. You can see, so you can see the bars are not in a group anymore. You can see each of the bar. You can see I have a bar here, I have one here, I have another one. So they are not grouped. Okay, and then you can also see like here it's not so joined. Okay, so that is the effect. So you can always it depends on how, and as you can see, because of that, we kind of have a more we have more reinforcement detailing, kind of, and then of course we have more specifications. So sometimes you use the joining kind of like to control. So, and again, you can play with it, to be honest. You can like for instance, if I go back and say group, okay, similar bars, and then if I say limit this to like 5 or say 3 in a group, okay, then go back again and run automatic design. So as you can see, we have so it's already done anyway. You can see now we have less specifications. If you notice here, okay, now we said remit it to tray in the group. So you can see we have one bar mark, 1, 2, 3. This is the same bar mark 1, bar mark 1, bar mark 1. So you can see the next one is no longer bar mark 1. So it's because this is now in a different group. Okay, even though they are the same bar, the same length, everything, the same bar length, but they are kind of like different in a different group. So again, the reason why this function is built in the first place, it's kind of like to help you have fewer specifications. If you notice here, we have very, very few specifications. Just to enable you have fewer specifications, okay? That is the reason why that was built in. So again, it's kind of like there's not really any one way to it. It depends on you, the designer, on how you want your detailing to appear. Sometimes some people might want more bars. Again, it depends on the presentation you are making. Sometimes more bars shows, you have done more work, which is good. In this case, like say, if I reduce this to 2, for instance, and then I go back again and run the design, click automatic design, go back, you can see by the time it's finished, we have more bars here. So as you can see, we have more bars. So we can see after 1 bar mark 1, bar mark 1, then the next we have another bar, and then it skips here, we have another bar here. So you can see the drawing is more fuller. Okay, so that is the essence of that. So you can use the setting the way they are, or you can tweak the setting to just have as more bar as you want or as little bar as you want. Okay, now that's the thing with the reinforcement bar setting, the slab reinforcement, like the slab detailing setting. It's quite very useful, to be honest. Okay, it kind of like gives you a little bit of control over how the setting. Sometimes you might just use like 5 or 3. It depends on how I want the drawing to be presented. If I want a little bit more bars within the drawing, yeah, I will use 2. If I want a little bit, if I want a little bit less bar, yeah, 5 is okay. Okay, within the group. And as you can see, if I reduce this to 5 now, go back to design, click automatic design, software will roll the thing back, it will just do the design again. And as you can see, so you can see I have just only about 2 bars, and you can see this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is just covered by this 1 bar, and then the next one repeats. So that is the thing with the slab detailing setting. As I said, it's a very good one. You can literally, you can actually play with. And then if you want to join the bars, sometimes you might not need to join the bars. Sometimes you might want to join the bars. But in any case you want to join the bars, you can always put this on and then run the design again, and it will join, it will attempt, the keyword is that it will attempt to join the bars where necessary. Okay, usually what it does is that because we set the limit for the bar to be 11,500. So what it does, like like this place, for instance, yeah, if it notice these bars are kind of similar, okay, the spacing is similar, the bar diameter is similar, it will try to join this bar to this bar, okay, and then provided that the length is no more than 11,000. So if the next one to be joined is up to 11,000, it will make it go above 11,500, then it will not join it. That is what joining the bars actually means. Okay, so that is it with the that is it with the setting for slab detailing. So if I run the design again, let's see what happens. Okay. So yeah, so it's attempted to join this particular one. You can see this bar is joined, and then this one to this one is also joined. Okay, so that is the way the software works. So it's so you can always try and see how the entire thing goes. The reason why it didn't join this place, it didn't attempt to join this bar, is because by the time you add this and you add this, okay, it will be more than 11,500, and that is why they are not joined. And then in this place also, as you can see, we actually have two different bars. So this is one of them, even though it ended up putting them in the same line, but never mind. You can always control. You can actually control the bar, kind of like shift them downward. Like if I go to you can actually move the bar downward. So we'll talk about that later. You can use the start point Y to do that. Like I can change the start point Y. Let's move it down a little bit. Say by let's say 80. Okay. And then go back, change this to 80. So you can see the bar has stepped down. The same with this. I can change this to 80 also. That is why. So so you can see, so that's how you control the settings. Okay. So you can actually change. So you can see, so the bar kind of like have stepped down, and now we have the divisions. Okay. So again, I will talk more about how you can edit the arrangement later, by the time I finish going through the settings. Okay. But this is how the software works when it comes to detailing. You, especially the slab detailing, because the slab detailing, I think, is probably one of the most complicated detailing within the software. Okay, it's extremely very complicated. Yeah, we keep making quite a lot of adjustments within the detailing process. As you can see in version 10, the slab detailing is very, very fast. I mean, it's highly optimized, to be honest. The boundary was pushed this time around, to be honest. But again, we keep trying to make it quicker and quicker by God's grace, as the in each of the editions that we develop. But again, the slab detailing again is probably one of the most complicated piece of the software. Sometimes, but later as we go on, I will talk more on how you can edit it further down the line. Okay, so that is the slab detailing setting. It's quite very easy. You can set it and then try it, run design again, automatic design, and see how things go. Okay, the next setting is the bar bending, the bar shadow estimate setting. Okay, now this kind of like we have bar shadow in the previous versions, but in this particular edition, version 10, for the first time, we try to build in the cost aspect of the shadow. Okay, now the bar shadow, I'll have to go back, run automatic design again. But before I do that, I will need to include bar bending schedule. Okay, then run automatic design. Okay, so now, because again we have so many sheets, what the software does is that by the time you run automatic design, it's kind of, it limits itself to a number of sheets displayed on the screen. But never mind, all the details are there. You can bring them back from here. You can go to this button here. You can show the list, the structural list, and then you can bring out the title block, and then you can select whatever You can see all the pages are here. But at the same time, you can view all of them. So you click on this to view all the title block. Okay, that's what we want to do. So that we can see everything. Yeah. And as you zoom in more, the software kind of like turn each page into a rectangle. So that we don't have so much display on the screen. But as you point at any of them and zoom, it comes back again. Now this is the bar bending schedule is here. Okay. It starts from, let's see where it starts. I think it starts from here. Okay, so as you can see, this is the bar bending schedule. Okay, so you just have the member description is this one, the bar mark is this, the bar size, the bar specification, the number of member, and then the number of bar in each, and then total number of bar, length of bar, total length of bar, and then here you have the bar shape itself. And the bar shape again is more like a scaled down version of the bar shape. It's not one-to-one scale. Okay. And then here you have the length of the bar, and then you have the shape code. Okay, and then you have the tonnage. Okay, so and then if you go down here, you can see the cost, the total cost. Now this is the cost based on length, and then this is the cost based on tonnage. Okay, now it depends on whatever amount, so it's for you to determine. I will just move this by the corner. Okay, I'll move this, and of course here it gives the totals. Like here you have the total number of diameter 12 bar, total number of diameter 16 bar, total number of diameter 20 bar. Okay, it will itemize them, and of course it goes ahead to give you the total length is this. You can see this is the total length of the bar, and then for each of the diameter that is listed. And at the same time, it will give you and remember, this is the foundation details we're talking about. And then it will give you the cost estimate for each of them. Now, it depends on which of the cost estimates is easier for you to get. Sometimes for some people, it's easier for them to get the cost of the length of bar. Whilst for some people, it's easier for them to get the tonnage of steel. So whichever one that works for you, it will always give you two of them, to be honest. Okay, so if we go back to this and go to the bar bending schedule. Okay, now this is the full length of steel. As I said before, it's different from the one it uses when it is doing the slab detailing. So this is the full length of steel. This length is for bar bending schedule. Okay, of course it uses this length to divide, like this is total length. It will use this length to divide the total length to get the number of bar. That is just what it is. If you want to limit the length, like 11,500, if you want to build in some headrooms, yeah, you can go ahead and do that. And then again, this this is the code. Okay, but you can also use the Euro code or the South African national standard. We have to build this in for some of our friends in East Africa or South Africa. Okay, they use this code. Okay, but this is only used, this code, these two codes, Euro code and SAMS code, is only used for the bar bending schedule. It doesn't use them in the design. Could be in the future we can build those two codes into the design. And I think the SAMS code is quite very similar to the BS code anyway. And the reason why we have to include this code is just because of the it has to do with the code, the barcode. That is just the only reason why we included it, because for the South African national standard, the barcode is a little bit different. That is the only thing. That is the only reason why we included it. So If you are in Southern Africa or East Africa and you want to use this, so that because the shape code is slightly different, so the software kind of build that in. Okay, so that's why we build that. But for majority of the people, it's BS code that it will use. So that is the shape code for the BS code. Okay, and as I said, if you select the sans code, it will use the shape code for that. But apart from that, every other thing is okay. When it comes to let me also repeat, the structural design is not done with sans code, it's done with BS code. It's just for the purpose of the estimate that we incorporated that, so that we can differentiate between the shape code, okay, between the two standards. But the two standards are almost similar anyway. Okay, so down to the cost currency. Yeah, you can see we use N. Again, you can use S if you're billing in dollar. Whatever sign you want to use, you can use, to be honest. I think the software we work with it, okay, it will just put it, in front of the price. That's all that does there. As you can see, you see here, N for, it just put it. Okay, so that is it. And for abbreviation purposes, we kind of like, you can see we use K for thousands, and then I think we used M for million, and then B for billion. So it doesn't, give you like 36, thousand. So it doesn't do that. 36, comma, and then 000. No, it doesn't. So it just use K. Just for the sake of abbreviation, because if we have too much figures, the software, it will have a lot to put at this space anyway. Okay, so that is where this plays a part. So whatever, even if you like write, for instance, if you like write say Naira, that's what it will use in front of here. It will just put the same thing here. So it's just a string anyway. So whatever you use, that's what. So the whole idea is whatever your currency or the country you are designing from, whatever currency the country is, whether it's the dollar, whether it's N, whether it's whatever, just use it and it will just put it here. That's all it does with it. It doesn't do currency conversion. No. These figures. So by the time you now get down to the cost, okay, for the tonnage of steel, the unit cost of 6 mm diameter ton of steel, this cost is based on whatever currency that you are using, and the software will just multiply with the cost. It doesn't do anything special with it. It just uses the cost the way they are. So if it doesn't do currency conversion. So I think in such a way it also makes it open, so that whatever your currency, it will just work with it. So because it doesn't care about the currency per se, the only thing it cares about is the cost. So if your cost is say $200, it will work with $200. If it is 200,000 naira, it will work with it. If it is shilling, probably 400,000 shillings, it will work with it. Whatever the cost, it doesn't care, because there's no currency conversion attached. So that kind of makes it open. All you need to do is just come here and put in the costs depending on the country where you are designing from. Once you put in the cost, the software will just work with it. It's how do I put it? It's kind of like currency-less. It doesn't care about the currency, or it doesn't do currency conversion. So that makes it open. Just put in whatever you think is the cost in whatever country you're designing from. Yeah, it will just work. If you change this to say 500,000, it will just work with it. It's whatever is unit cost, is whatever cost that you give it, that is what it will work with. So it doesn't really so don't really bother about that. You can change all this according to the country currency that you're working with. and that is the cost in the whatever country, whether you are working with Ghana cedis, and the cost in Ghana cedis is, say, probably, I don't know, say 10,000 for 6 millimeter diameter ton of steel. Just put 10,000 and the software will work with it. So I think it makes it quite very easy, so that within the software, we're not always trying to work out what is the unit, what is the cost in different countries. We don't really need to do that. Just tell the software whatever the cost is in your country, and it will just work with it. Now, this is the cost of the length of steel. For so many people, the cost of each length of bar is what is more important to them. Okay, and I think in some cases, that is actually more easier to work out than the tonnage of steel. Okay, except if you're doing a very massive construction, and you have to get the steel in tons, which sometimes many people don't do. For so many people, it's just by the bars in length. Okay, so this kind of helps to work out and this is the what it uses to calculate this, because this number of bar and the cost is this. That is what it uses to calculate that. Why the tonnage of steel, it uses this cost, unit cost here, to calculate it. So it's quite very simple and straightforward. So whatever the cost is in your country, just enter it here, okay? And you can always change this, and the software will work with it. And then, pardon me, with the design settings, later I will show you how you can actually save them, so that you can always import it back again into whatever design you are doing, so I'll show you. I think this is probably the last thing we will do, in the design setting series. Okay, and then here, if you say include this cost, it will work with it. If you uncheck this, then it will not include the tonnage of steel. So if we go back and run the design again, you'll discover that the tonnage of steel is not included. So if you want, let's say you're working only with the length of steel cost, you just leave this checked, and it will just. So if you're working only with tonnage of steel, check this, and then you can also uncheck this. But you want two of them, just go for it. Check both of them. Okay, down here we have the cost of concrete, cost of concrete setting. So here it just only by 1 unit. So the unit cost of volume of concrete. Now, sometimes this one is a little bit difficult to work out, but it depends on your country. Some countries, they deliver concrete in volume. So for those countries, it's easy. You can easily work out what is the unit cost of each volume, and then you enter it, and then the software will work with it. And then, but for some other people where concrete is being missed, it might be a little bit difficult to work out what the unit cost. Sometimes from people, just from experience, they already know what the unit cost can be. That is for the volume of concrete. And now this have to do with formwork. Okay, you can, if you know the estimate for the unit cost of like slab formwork, beam formwork, column formwork, and then foundation formwork, you can enter it here, and then it will work with it. But I think for so many people, these two might not be important anyway. They don't really care about it. What is more important is probably the unit cost of the steel. Better steel, for so many people too, they don't really care about the unit cost. It's not important. You can just uncheck them and uncheck this. And of course, the software will give you the bar bending schedule without the cost element. Okay, it will just give you the bar bending schedule. What I mean by that is that it will give you the table, the bar bending schedule table. It will definitely give you the length, okay, but without the cost element attached to it. If you move down, you can see, and again, the way it also does with like with the schedule, for each, like the foundation will have its own schedule. The starter column will have its own bar bending schedule, and then the column details for the first floor, it will have its own schedule. and then like the whole column, sorry, not just the first floor, the entire column, and we have its own schedule. Okay. And then by the time you go down, we have the roof beam, we have its own schedule, and then the first floor schedule for the beams, and then we have the slab schedule or schedule, whichever way you call it. And then so here we have the slab continues and finishes here. It gives you the reinforcement, the tonnage, and all the rest, and the cost element to it. And then after that, we have the building total. So here it tries to give you the total for all the bars, or like kind of like grand total. Yeah. And again, this is more a little bit like a rough estimate, sometimes in design, especially if you know the length of bars, the cost for each length of bar is quite very useful. Sometimes you just want to have a range of the cost of the reinforcement, and it gives you that kind of like gives you a guide of what you are planning with. In fact, sometimes you start a design and you can actually see what the cost is going to be like, and give you a guide so that and help you in down the line in your choices. Okay, down this way, and of course, if you want to select this thing, I mean, if you don't want to be zooming in and zooming out, and you just want to view, you can actually first of all, I will hide this the floor view. Just don't worry, we'll bring it back. I'll hide this, go back, bring this back. I can view all or view few of them depending on, just select this. But where I'm actually going towards is this. I want to show the title block page down here. That's it. So I'm viewing few of them. I can actually, from here, you can select, you can see. So you can select. So I'm actually going down to the concrete. So you can see it's actually atomized. So you can select what you need. So down to the concrete. Now here we have the concrete bar bending schedule. So you have the member description, that is which part footing is it, and then here you have the dimensions, and then here you have the volume of concrete and surface area to formwork. Okay, and at the end of the day, it tries to give you the cost estimate. You can see, as we have here, there's a cost estimate, and then here it gives you the total volume of concrete and the total surface area to formwork. And it does that for starter bars and all the rest. So you can actually select and see the different concrete volumes for each of the different areas. Okay, so that is it about the bar bending schedule. It's more about you try, enter a figure, and then you run automatic design again and see what it comes to. Okay, that is probably more about the settings. This obviously is what we are already used to. We have used this automatic design setting is the same automatic design setting that we get from here. Okay, kind of like you include what you need to include doing the automatic design. Okay, so then here you have of course all the lists, and then the next you have how you can, we'll talk about this in the next lesson, how you can import and export the setting, because sometimes you finish configuring these test settings and then you want to always bring it in back again into your design. So we'll talk about that in the next lesson. Thank you. It's quite a very long tutorial, to be honest, but again, we have to talk about these load settings for people I call the power users that want to take more control and reconfigure the software to work the way they want. But for so many people, to be honest, in so many forms of designs, you don't really need to change most of the settings. So you don't really need to be bothered about the design settings. Just get on designing with the software and then tweak it along the line where you need to tweak it. But if you don't need to tweak it, the software is already fine-tuned to work very well with the current settings. The only place that you might need to fine-tune definitely, of course, is the cost estimate. And of course, the cost that many people will be interested in is the length, because sometimes the tonnage is a little bit more difficult to come by. But once you have this length, the software applies the cost quite very beautifully, and it will give you the cost estimate, which is quite very lovely. Okay, so that somehow we kind of like have a sense of how much our design costs. Because sometimes when you start seeing how much design costs, it will also help you to make better decisions in your design. You tend to do more economic design when you can actually see how much it costs. Okay, take care. Bye.